The world feels a bit toxic and blah these days, doesn't it? The same old people coming up with the same old solutions for big problems that still don't work. We need to change the game. Well, welcome to Women Advancing. Join me, host Kate Byrne, in this dynamic bi-weekly podcast, bringing together female founders, funders, and thought leaders. Listen to the people driving change, how they got there, how you can help, and yep, how you might just be the next one to advance. Proof that all ships rise with women at the helm. That's what happens when Women Advance with Kate Byrne. Hey everyone, it's Kate Byrne, your host at Women Advancing. Well, today's episode, it's a reminder that real change doesn't come from just bold ideas. It actually comes from people bold enough to show up, stay in it, and keep building. I'm joined by Leah Guesman, COO of College Contact, our second episode with her, who's helping to reimagine how we support students on their college journey and beyond. And alongside her is Alinor Smith, aka Allie, who is a mentor in the truest sense of the word, someone who doesn't just show up for a student, but shows up with them, beside them, and doesn't leave their side. What do we talk about? Oh my gosh, so many amazing things. What it really means to create access and why the work doesn't just stop once someone gets in the door. The difference one person can make simply by listening and hence shaping lives. And yes, I mean plural, not just one life. How trust, lived experience, your own vulnerability can really change the game for first-gen and underrepresented students. Why advancing sometimes looks a lot like just sitting down, listening, and saying, you've got this, and I've got you. I'm not going anywhere. And finally, ahas like true success, well, that's intrinsic. And resilience, can you imagine? What if we didn't have to have the hardships that make it so that we have to be resilient in the first place? It's a conversation about purpose, about partnership, and the ripple effect of showing up and all that goes after. Let's get into it. Hey, everybody. It's your host, Kate Byrne at Women Advancing, and we're going to try something new today because I'm feeling a little frisky, even though it's only Tuesday and not Friday. I am really excited to invite back, because of popular demand, one of the founders of College Contact, Leah Guesman, who's the COO, and have one of her key right-hand folks who helped see the whole program start from duct tape and glue to the amazing fast-moving machine that it is today. And that is Alinor Smith, aka Allie, who is an active mentor. So ladies, welcome to Women Advancing. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, Kate. It's great to be on again.
Yeah, no, really appreciate it. And seriously, the response to the first episode that we had together, Leah, was off the charts. So really, really happy that we were able to make this happen. So before we go and take a peek into Allie and all that she brings to the party, I want to take a step and point out and ask, what's your approach to making impact feel personal and not just programmatic at College Contact? Because some are so sort of speeds and feeds and bits and bytes and just kind of transactional. What do you think you all do to help not make that be the case with you?
Yeah, absolutely. This question really drives home at our core mission and what I think we spoke a little bit last time about holding true to that golden nugget of personal connection as the business continues to grow and scale. And so what we've always done from day one, when it was just a few undergrads helping some high schoolers until now, we're having thousands of kids and hundreds of mentors, is really prioritize that human to human connection, making sure that students are getting connected with mentors who they really see themselves in, who they really relate to, and then making sure that that human connection is sustained. And it's not just about getting this or that objective done, but it's also about building a friendship, building a relationship, giving students someone that they can count on, who they know is in their corner, believing in them, rooting for them. And so that's really the magic of College Contact, is those interactions between students and mentors that help inspire kids to really reach for their dreams and push themselves further than they might have had they not had a mentor.
So I know that's really helpful. And I know when we were talking about the whole notion in the program about, mentors, you were so clear right out a first name, boom, Allie. So let's talk a little bit about Allie. And Allie, you can either choose to hear or close your ears. But so what made her stand out as a mentor? What qualities do you think make her relationship with her mentees so meaningful?
Yeah, absolutely. I think number one, she was one of our earlier mentors. And not only was she always like totally on the ball, very organized, very communicative, but also like had the kind of like gusto to work with our systems in our early days when we weren't reminding mentors every 10 minutes about what was coming up, when there wasn't a centralized platform for them to keep track of everything. It took even a little more to be a mentor in those days. And so Allie really shined in those respects. But I think even more than that, now I've just heard that she's going to do Teach for America, and all the pieces make sense because she's just such a compassionate and thoughtful mentor, leader, teacher. And I think that really came through to her students and made them feel comfortable with her, which really is 90% of the battle when you start working with a student. It's just making sure they feel comfortable so that they're open to growing, they're open to learning, they're open to working with you. And she has a serious gift for that. And I think we recognize that right away from her kids. So
It's nice to be showered with appreciation. I think it's great. So, one last question before I head over to you, Allie, is this, Leah. So, you see that when you see, because you've mentioned it a couple times, Allie interacting with her kids, etc. How do you spot that prior to that? How do you spot that spark when you're in the process of looking for mentors? Is there some little aha moment?
Yeah, totally. I think it's a few things. For one, I think people who are really good listeners tend to be really good mentors. So there are people who are whip smart, super on top of it, but if they want all the airtime when you're speaking to them, they might not be the best person to really go in and listen to a student, hear what they're saying, read between the lines, and truly understand them. So I think people who are really good listeners and really attentive listeners is number one. The other thing I would say is, a mentor is going to make a student feel comfortable, but they're also going to make pretty much anyone that they speak to feel comfortable. They're going to be enjoyable to talk to. They're going to smile. It's not going to be all like doom and gloom when we're running a case study or doing practice sessions, right? And I think we underestimate that, like the power of just when you're in a video call, especially, but in person too, smiling, making eye contact, being open and seeming like you're engaged and excited to interact with whoever you're speaking to. I think that's a huge piece of it. And then the last thing I'll say is people where this kind of giving back, this kind of interest in students and mentorship is already riddled in their background. You can hear from the things they highlight about themselves, the activities they've participated in previously, their reason why they're doing this, not just to get another stamp on their resume, not just to get some work experience, but because maybe they experienced in high school stress or concern or fear about this transition. And now they saw this opportunity and they're like, oh, I wish I'd had that person, but at least now I can be that person for someone else. So real excitement about that, I would say, is also a big part of it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And Allie, first off, congrats for the TFA.
Thank you
That'll,
so much.
I look forward to hearing more about that experience. Actually, that might be part three. I'm just saying, why not build upon it for sure? But so, what, like, in the words of that song, how did you get here? Right. So, what brought you to mentorship in the first place? Because I know you
Yeah.
asked him College Connect, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. What was it?
I mean, I think that what really called to me was I was working a summer job when I first found out about College Contact. I think it was the summer between my second and third year, if I'm right, Leah. And
Yeah.
that's in UVA terms. In regular terms, it's sophomore junior. But I was kind of just looking for something. I had just recently joined the public policy school at UVA called Batten, and I was really, really interested in educational policy, kind of childhood rights, like childhood policy in general. And I really wanted to get into that education world because I really don't believe that you can enact change without knowing what it's like to live that life. And for a while, actually, I did live that life. I was a student in the K through 12 world for, as long as all of us who finish high school are. And I struggled through the college application process a lot. What brought me to mentorship, I didn't really have a formal mentor because of the price. As I said before, I was working a summer job. I was working in service. I was working in tourism. I wasn't really doing the things that I wanted to, but it was because I had to make ends meet. Like I literally had to do this so that I would have food for myself. And that's kind of how I grew up as well. Like I started working when I was 14 years old and the only thing that brought me into college, actually, I was talking about this with a friend the other day. I had no idea what liberal arts colleges was until I joined College Contact. I had no idea that that was a thing. I only applied to state colleges and Ivy Leagues because I thought those were the only colleges that existed. Right. I had no idea that any other school existed. And I went to UVA and I got a full ride, and it has been such a fantastic ride. I'm graduating in 4 days. So, I mean, I just feel like the mentor that I had, who was my English teacher, who went out on a limb for me because she kind of saw that inner spark, that inner fire that like Leah was talking about.
Mhm.
I want to enact change, and college was my next step to make that greater change. And so I just really appreciate her for being there for me when I didn't even know if like that was a viable option for me, considering I knew that I needed to make money from a very young age, and I wasn't quite ready yet to understand that like college was an investment, a step in the right direction to have greater financial freedom and control. I kind of just, you're 18 years old and you don't have a lot of money and you're thinking like, okay, I need to make this work for me. I need to make this work for my family. But then I looked around and applying to college, I realized that like College Contact was a way that I could pay forward what I have received, what I was lucky enough to receive,
Right.
and what I sometimes lacked. I now had the tools to translate the like hidden curriculum of success that you don't learn typically if you're going to like a lower income high school or your family or your first gen in your family. And I had that roadmap now. I'd given it to myself, and it would have been such a shame to have it end with me. So that's kind of like the leg I was looking forward to like give back to my own community, and that's what drew me.
Yeah, it's going to be incredibly invaluable too, given all the crazy that is going on with political climate and shifts that are being, made, and how education in particular is being hit so hard, and we haven't even begun to see it at from both sides,
Oh,
both
don't
from
even get me started.
right, and the parents, and the universities themselves and the colleges. One of the early day mentees and helped one of the first B2B kids. Or was there any sort of relational thing when that you had with
Oh my
the
God, yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
men?
I felt like I was looking in a mirror, but like 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Like, so it was a little bit different though, because I feel like my mentee was a little bit more quiet than me. Like I'm a very boisterous, like exuberant type of person, but I feel like the quietness is always rooted in the as Leah was saying, like the desire to listen and to like know what's going on in your environment. And so I felt that in her. I felt that I just had to bring it out. And so when we were first talking, what I like to do is I start kind of not really talking about the thing that we're here to talk about. I like, I'll ask them like, what are you excited about? Like, what are you excited about in your life right now? Like, what are you doing? And that always shocks them. I feel like, especially the question, like, what are you excited about? Because typically they're asked like, oh, how was your day? How's the weather? Like small talk. But I think like asking questions that are kind of related to like the whole college contact thing, but also are more like, I care about you as a person. If what you're excited about is something that we can't put on your resume or put on, a personal statement essay, that's fine. I care about you as a whole being. And I think that like that is the most important part to eventually brought my mentee out of her shell. It's so rare and it's crazy going into a teaching environment because I feel like that, especially Teach for America, that's kind of like all I've been taught. Like I'm telling you guys basically the lessons that like Teach for America is teaching me right now. But it's like, it is rare for students to feel seen. I hardly felt seen all throughout like my time in school. So it was hard for me to bond with teachers, even though those were the very people that held, as I was saying before, like that unspoken curriculum of a roadmap to success, right? Like, and if you can't make relationships with those people if you don't know how to make relationships, but I don't think that it's up to you as the student to be making the relationships. I think it is up to the adult. I really do believe that. And so I want to make relationships. I want to understand that person as a whole person. And one anecdote that happened actually on the topic of jobs is she was saying, like, I think she started her sentence with, like, this is stupid, but I recently got a promotion. And I was like, what do you mean this is stupid? Like, and she was like, I just went from like, I think she was working at a fast food restaurant at that point. So she was like, I recently got a promotion from like, this to a hostess or a hostess to a server. And I was like, that's not small. That's huge. Like, that means you worked hard. You showed up long enough for somebody of your manager to look at you and trust you and to see like, oh, you are a person who deserves this. Like, you are deserving of that. And so, you know, it takes a lot to get to know somebody, and I get that, but it's just the little questions. It's just the little questions over time that stack up. And like, once you learn more about them and you keep showing up, they realize like, oh, they're not going to leave. They're going to do their best to give me what I need. It's always about like equity, hearing these kids out, knowing them for who they are and who they want to be, and not the mistakes that they've made in the past. Like, I just think that that's such a great way to think about kids in general, is like, I want to know you as a person for who you are and who you want to be, and guiding them, kind of like little caring hands to push them in the right direction that will help them achieve their goals in so many ways. It literally pushed me to do the career that I'm about to do now. So like, I mean, talk about impact. That is an incredible impact. Yeah.
Really showing up consistently. That's like the best foundation, and unconditionally, right? So you're hearing them out and you're not saying, well, wait a second, that doesn't fit into this little Excel spreadsheet of job opportunities, right? It's, this is who you are. This is what you want. Okay. What are the things that we can do to make sure that, you know, we can put you on that path? It also builds trust just out the gate.
Right.
Just out the gate. So what do you wish more people understood about the value of that showing up, especially for students who haven't always had someone show up for them? You know, I know it's sort of, you got to see it to be it kind of thing, but it goes, what you're talking about goes beyond that, I think.
Yeah. What do I wish more people understood about that is just such a complex question, because I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on it because I was that kid who was lacking in those support system, and because I was that kid who had one person show up. I think like a really good lesson that I learned in college taking these public policy classes, I was very interested in educational equity. So I took a lot of educational equity classes. And one of my favorite professors at university, I took another one of her classes this semester, but she explained that students need one person. This is, I think, like the most key takeaway. If a student at home has a horrendous family life and they have never felt heard, it starts, I mean, early intervention is key. But even when you're talking about like high schoolers, when you become that one trusted adult, you hold the power to literally pull them out of poverty or literally change their lives. And so it's not just like, oh, you know, I'm doing this, I'm showing up, like this means nothing, I'm just going to work day after day. It's like, you could literally be the changing factor that changes a kid's whole life. I don't exactly know that study off the top of my head, but I would love to send that over to you. It only takes one. Like, I think that's the title of the study. And it takes one trusted adult. Whether, if it's not in the family, then it can be a coach. If it's not a coach, it could be a teacher. If it's not a teacher, it could be, you know, a social worker. It takes one person to help another person get to where they want to go. And I just think like hearing that and then doing college contact, the keys all like it all fell into place. I was like, this is exactly what they mean by that.
Yeah. And what I also think it's important for everyone who's listening to think about too is it's literally showing up and listening. That's it. It's not even, oh my gosh, I have to give, you don't have to give money. You don't have to give a job. You don't have to, literally not what it is. It's like human to human, heart to heart, hands open. How can I help? And it doesn't have to be this big because so many people, I don't have time, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't take that long. Because
It's just about caring about others,
yeah,
I think. Like, it's just about, like I care about my boss as much as I care about my students, as much as I care about my friends. Like, I care about everyone in my life. It might be at different like levels of caring. Like, I might know the intricacies of my friends' dating life and not of my students. But like, it's still like if they're willing to share that with me, I'm here to listen. And I think that I've been a mentor in a lot of different scenarios. I actually did like before even doing like Big Brother with College Contact or yeah, BTB with College Contact. I did mentoring in Charlottesville with middle school students, so a little bit younger than like the students that I'm talking about now. But I had a mentee back then who I would see every single week for an entire school year. And we started out the school year with goals. And I remember that something that she really loved was drawing. And throughout the whole year, I was like, so like, are there any pictures that you've like made recently? And like, it's those little things where they realize like, oh my God, you remembered that I like art. Like you remembered that I like drawing. Like, can you imagine what that would mean if that happened to you? Like,
mattered.
right.
So, Leah, I want to ask you that same question in terms of like, what do you wish people understood about the value of showing up, especially for students who haven't always had someone to do that for them?
I think to echo a lot of what Allie said, just like having someone who's invested not just in your future, but in you right now is huge. And so for high schoolers, like there's so much pressure, like around what are you going to do? What's your next step? What's going to come next? And I think for a lot of the kids that I've met in our programs, it makes them shut down a little bit because they're just like, I don't know, like I don't have anything going for me. Like we always talk about, I always tell kids, like, if you think you have nothing to write your college essays about, chill out. We're going to help you. You have plenty. Like you've lived 18 years. You're going to be fine. Right. And just helping them all know that they are interesting and valuable and wonderful right now where they
Yeah.
are. And I think the reason that like our mentors and our model is able to do that so well is because it feels so genuine coming from someone who's just that little bit older than you. It feels less patronizing and more genuine coming from someone who you feel like really actually understands the spot you're in right now. And so like I love like Allie, it's so funny because as an early mentor, I feel like Allie had to do and know a lot of things without us necessarily explicitly training or teaching them to her. And so much of what you hit on are things that we now train mentors in. Like I was just training a group of mentors yesterday for a school program and I was talking to them and I was like, okay guys, so you want to make sure like you're talking to them about what's going on now, what they're interested in, like what they're going to be up to this summer, like how they're feeling about things, like and and when you're checking in with them, you don't always have to check in about homework and assignment. You can check in about like, "Hey, how's that basketball camp going? Like, are you doing well?" Or, "Hey, like, did you end up getting that summer job at Baskin Robbins? Like,
Right.
I'm rooting for you." Right? And so just giving them like attention and value now, regardless of what happens post graduation, regardless of what happens and what's coming. Because once that confidence and that self esteem starts to build, age 15, 16, 17, whatever, suddenly that light at the end of the tunnel, that goalpost starts to become clearer and feel way closer than it did when you didn't have that confidence. So that's my roundabout way of probably echoing exactly what Allie said, but,
I mean, I would even go so far as to add, like, not just about, like, asking them as well. I feel like a lot of my most valuable relationships have come with me being vulnerable as well, like, with me
yeah,
explaining what's going on in my life, like, what I'm dealing with right now, what I'm excited about right now, especially if they see themselves in me, then it's like, oh, this is what my future could be like. And that is an added bonus, I would say, with being
Yeah.
vulnerable.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, how has it shaped your view of success, of resilience, and of leadership?
Wow. Well, okay, wait. You
It's a
said
big one,
success,
I know.
resilience, and leadership.
Mm,
I'm gonna try to narrow these to specific groups because at large, startup world, school admin world, student
yeah.
world, mentor world, I could probably talk about this for 15 to 20 minutes. But
Huh.
student success has really been shaped by how we make the student feel. And I think what Alinor spoke to around making students feel secure and feel like they have someone in their corner. Sophie and I sometimes, there are kids who miss meetings in our program. There are kids who don't show up to a workshop. There are things that happen curriculum wise that aren't our favorite. But our bottom line is we want these kids to be better off because they had a mentor and they worked with a mentor and feel more supported and feel that they have this person. We want them to feel better off than they would have without us. And if they get 8 of their 10 deliverables done, we'd love for it to be 10, and we're always going to be working for it to be 10. But if they get 8 of their 10 deliverables done and they believe that their future has value and they're inspired to try to put more effort into their future and to stay committed to their future goals, that is way better than having 10 of 10 deliverables done, but they hate their mentor and they hate us because we're harassing them, right? So
Right.
finding what success is and being really clear about that definition for ourselves, for our mentors, for our students, I think is so important. In terms of leadership, I think as a control freak, I have learned so much. And Allie, the mentors today have you to thank for just having a certain level of trust in the mentors and knowing that they can do this and they're capable. And now even bringing them up to help us with things like training, to help us with things like student outreach and student management, because honestly, it coming from a mentor, a lot of kids are more responsive to a mentor than to an adult. And so giving more rope, I guess, to the people that I'm leading, to the network of mentors,
Mm.
has been a big lesson for me in leadership and kind of really believing what we say. These mentors are so amazing and they can do so much. Let them. I
Yeah.
also have to
Walking
let
the
them
talk.
and not micromanage them. And then part C, resilience. For me, I would say there's a bajillion lessons in resilience I could talk about. The amount of inspiration I get from our students, from our mentors, from the school administrators that I talk to in the deep belief in these students and in their futures, despite what's going on politically, despite what's going on in a family, despite what the school's budget or resources are, the commitment that the people we've worked with have had to helping these students shine, helping them believe in themselves, helping them achieve meaningful futures. That resilience is so inspiring to me. And I see it in our mentors, I see it in the administrators we work with, and I also see it in the students, right? They are so, if you can get through to them, they do become hopeful about their futures and they are excited about their futures and they are extremely resilient and have had to go through much more than I think I've had to go through. So in terms of resilience, I would say I've just learned a ton of lessons from all of those people and a lot of inspiration for myself to get over my hill of beans day to day, get over myself and stick with them, be arm in arm with all those people that are continuing to push for these students to have access to amazing futures and be able to look right and look left and say, I'm not going to quit either. We're all in this together. That is so meaningful to me. And listening to Alinor talk today, I've had chills 20 times. I've been on the verge of tears 20 times. You are such an inspiration. And literally, that's why I wanted you to come on the podcast because you're such an example of what this program is all about. So
Thank you. I mean, I can go right from there. I saw success as a person who literally had to fight tooth and nail to be able to
Mm.
be let in through the doors. I think one as a lower income student. Two, as like a woman in a lot of cases, like especially I had applied to UVA first as an engineer, obviously pivoted a lot. But it's like I feel like I really was fighting to be seen. And that's what I thought success was. Like it was fighting, and then you make it to the end and you burst through the door, and all of a sudden there were going to be all these accolades, and everyone was going to love you, and everyone was going to invite you to a million different things. And that's actually not what it is. I think mentorship, especially like all the different types of mentorship that I've had, shows me that success is not like waiting for you at the opening of the door and there isn't going to be a million people cheering you on. First of all, it's intrinsic satisfaction. Second of all,
Beautiful.
the actual greatness comes behind you. I was interviewed for Teach for America, and it said, how would you think about success? And I remember saying this in my interview. I said, success to me means being able to lead someone in the same career as me to a better outcome than I ever achieved. And I still believe that. I still believe that success isn't just like going through, sorry, this is a metaphor, I'm a poet, going through the door, bursting through and being like, this is the epitome of success. It's like, no, it's holding the door open for people behind you and, letting them step on your toes a little bit and being like, no, I want you to do this. I want this to be the opening door so that you can get to further doors, so that you can have the opportunity to reach those doors further on that, in this world that we live in, this society, dare I say, that we live in, it's like that's not always going to be the case, especially if you didn't grow up with extreme amounts of wealth or privilege. Secondly, mentorship as talking about resilience. I've always had mixed feelings about the word resilience. It gets used so much, especially as a person who has been through a lot of hardship. It feels like a buzzword. It feels like a way to be like, oh, you're a resilient person, you're resilient, and not actually going deeper and understanding the systemic and the actual systemic and personal hardships that I went through to be seen as a resilient person. It's a way to admire someone's pain without doing anything to alleviate it.
Very astute. It's more like looking at the outcome as opposed to what was the root cause. Because really, hopefully, one would wish you never have to be resilient.
You would think.
Kinda.
And yet
But
people are always craving for people to be resilient. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I
loves
think that
that.
the thing that I want to do for my kids is, as I said, hold that door open, let them step on my toes so that they don't have to experience the bad things that I experienced. Or even though I think it's made me into a great person, but I think I had the building blocks, I would say, to be able to cope with this. And also therapy. We love therapy. Yeah. So that's one thing. But I think more than that, resilience is speaking up and advocating for yourself and also for others who haven't yet found their voice. Resilience is weirdly asking for help, because if you don't make it through something, then you weren't resilient. Does that make sense? It's like
It
people
totally
won't
makes sense
see you as
because
resilient if you never made it through.
right.
So that's what I believe. And then when I think about the kids that I've mentored and the student that I was, resilience is never passive. These kids are going out on a limb to be like, I deserve this. And that is so important. Just having the deserving, the value within themselves to be like, I deserve to go to college. I deserve to have a mentor help me go to college. It's these little things. So I think mentorship especially taught me to reckon with my feelings toward the words resilience. And it taught me that I shouldn't be glorifying this struggle, but on the other hand, I should be honoring the growth that comes out of a struggle. I think that mentorship has taught me to lead with more intention and especially tenderness and also vulnerability. I think all of that is resilience, and people think resilience is fighting tooth and nail. No, I think it's the compassion and the tenderness and that is, I think, what real resilience is. You refuse to give up on these people even when the odds are stacked against everyone. And that's that's a more radical kind of resistance, I guess. But that's what or resilience. But I guess that's what I really believe. And then I guess last part of that is leadership. I think that like the leader that I want to be is believing in someone and being a person, everything that I've already said before, honestly, I can't say it better. I think that I've set the bar too high to stop with that. So that's what I have to say.
Well, I can't think of a better note to finish the conversation on. Amazing. I love that notion of resilience. I hadn't really stopped to think about that because it's really true. And this goes back to all the work that you all are doing at College Contact is it's even-handedness, equitable, and trying to give everyone a shot, a chance, right? And it doesn't have to be hard. Oh my gosh. All right. Allie Smith. Thank you. Thank you. Leah Guesman. Oh my gosh. Once again, now you know what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to do part 3 in a few months after the beginning of the school year. And we're going to hear about Teach for America.
That would be lovely. I would be happy to share my takeaways. I'm both scared and excited.
I know. That's the best thing. But remember, there is such a thin line between excitement and anticipation and fear. So you're excited.
Yeah, I feel like I'm really straddling both of them right now.
I can only imagine. Well, seriously, thank you both so much. I really appreciate it. Women Advancing listeners, oh, come on. So many pearls in that. Thank you for listening. And I look forward to the time we get together again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Thanks for having us.
Wow. What a chock-a-block full conversation that leaves behind so many amazing takeaways in its path. Here are my faves, I think. I could go on and on, but I've narrowed it down to these. First and foremost, it only takes one person who can literally change the trajectory of a life. And it doesn't have to be with money or getting a job. I mean, those are all great things. It's literally showing up, keep showing up. And more importantly, all you're doing when you do, listening, remembering. We could all take 2 seconds and do that for a person and realize, regardless of your age, everybody needs that. I love the way that Leah put the term look right, look left, and lock arms. We're all in this together. Again, anchoring that notion that you're not going to be abandoned. We're here for the duration. I thought it was beautiful to hear the shift that Allie went through from seeing success rather than it being this fight, this struggle, this drive, it's got to be this battle, to actually, rather than looking outside, it's seriously, success is getting so down with it just being your own intrinsic satisfaction. I think everybody at every age, me too, can really be reminded of that. I had really landed with me when she painted that visual of the whole notion of holding that door open for others. And this is the key piece to me, letting them step on your toes a little bit as they actually move forward and move ahead, because that's really what it's all about, right? Helping others, giving them a leg up, and then setting them on their way. And then finally, mind blown, notion of resilience. God, ideally, we probably don't want to be resilient because it's true. You don't wish resilience on anyone because it means they had a lot of hardship. Wouldn't it be amazing? And yes, I'm a Pollyanna, I know, and an optimist, and obviously perhaps a little diluted one, given all the state of the crazy world that we're living in. But how great would it be if, people didn't have to be resilient because things were set up and everyone understood that there's plenty of room for everyone. So with that, I thank you for continuing to listen. I would love to hear what you think your takeaways were from this. I'd love to hear your definitions of success and leadership and resilience too. Or what's been a situation that you've just recently experienced where you had to have and demonstrate resilience. For now, take care, and I look forward to the next conversation on Women Advancing. Thanks for listening. May this episode inspire you to move forward, Be sure to go to iTunes, Spotify, katebyrne.co, that's KATEBYRNE.co, or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and listen to even more episodes. Here's to strong women. May we know them, may we be them, may we raise them. Be sure to meet them on the next Women Advancing. Ta till next time.